Welcome back to the Lumiose Post, where we talk about all things Pokemon, and today we're going to be talking about something that I've actually wanted to talk about for a really long time on this channel. I think I have shelved this video for like 6 months. Like, it's been a long time coming, but we're talking about it today, and that is the fossil Pokemon of the Pokemon world, the ones we currently know about at least. And the fossil restoration process, how this changes the Pokemon, and what potentially the Pokemon could have been before. Now, to explain this better, I believe that the fossil restoration process, and I think this is all but confirmed really, had the Pokemon gain the rock typing because, you know, it was fossilized, and so it's not a full restoration. So, you know, Aerodactyl, Kabutops, Armaldo, none of them are fully restored. Also, if you really wanted to kind of go into this a little bit more, if you look at fossil Pokemon over each generation, they get a little bit less and less rocky and more real looking, like more like they could really exist today. Like, starting with Aerodactyl, Kabutops, and Amistar, they look very rocky. Aerodactyl especially, it looks like it's made completely of rocks. You go into Armaldo and Cradily, they start to look like they're a little more real. Armaldo's looking a little rocky there. Bastiodon and Rampardos, again, very rocky, but you're seeing some, like, natural colors in there. Like, you know, they're yellow and they're blue, less rocky colors. Same with Cradily and Armaldo on that. Archeops is almost full parrot, except that rocky head. Same with Caracosta. And then you get into the Kalos fossils with Tyrantrum and Aurorus. They look like an actual T-Rex and an actual whatever dinosaur Aurorus is. I'm sorry, I don't want to get it wrong. There's a lot of dinosaurs that have that generic shape. I'm sorry. But then you move into the Galar fossils, and they look completely real, not rocky at all, and they're even not having the rock typing. Now, this is because of combining the fossils, but we'll get into that. Let's first talk about what each one looked like back in the past, you know, before the restoration. So we'll start with Kanto. So you have Aerodactyl, Kabutops, and Amistar. So Aerodactyl, we actually kind of get a little bit of a hint here. They say that they believe that Mega Aerodactyl is actually an Aerodactyl's more true appearance. Like, it is more what Aerodactyl looked like. Now, if you look at what Mega Evolution really is, which is taking the Pokemon's, like, latent traits and bringing them out, this makes a ton of sense, and yeah, it's very likely Aerodactyl did look more like this. However, I still think that the rock typing is influencing Aerodactyl here. I think Aerodactyl may have actually been a either Dragon Flying type, a Fire Flying type, or a Steel Flying type. And the reason I'm saying this is Dragon, I could just see because Aerodactyl is a dragon. We know this because Lance uses an Aerodactyl, and he uses dragon Pokemon. Not dragon-type Pokemon, but dragon Pokemon. He clarifies there's a difference. So maybe Aerodactyl is a dragon Pokemon because it used to actually be a dragon type. Fire and Steel, I could see for the same reasons, and this being, if you look at Mega Aerodactyl, those sharp, jagged rock pieces that you see all over it, those could very well be, you know, they could be like iron spikes, so there would be the steel typing, or what this could be is this could be obsidian glass, which is like when lava kind of becomes glass. You know, there's this whole theory that was started by Birdkeeper Toby that the area with the black spires and Paldea could be just obsidian glass that came about because of Chi-Yu and its very hot and lava-like properties. So I think the same could be said here for Aerodactyl. You do often also see it depicted in lava areas, volcanic areas, kind of like in Pokemon Snap, or new Pokemon Snap specifically. But yeah, I think there's a good chance that Aerodactyl was fire flying in the past, maybe even was an early relative of Charizard, or it was dragon flying, or maybe even steel flying. Now for Kabutops, I think that this was a bug water typing. I mean, you know, the water typing, I imagine all these secondary typings are true to the Pokemon, and just the rock is replacing something. And so with Kabutops, I do think that it was originally a bug typing, and, you know, it just makes sense because it's very bug-like, right? I mean, it's as simple as that. It could have even been an early Genesect. This could have been the Pokemon that they made Genesect into. It's also very similar to Armaldo, so I imagine they were related, and I could see both of them being bug water, so a little bit of a spoiler on what I think Armaldo is, but more on that later. And then we move into Amistar. Amistar, I could see it being a water poison type or a water steel type. Steel because of its hard shell, or poison because those spikes on its shell. I could see it being a creature that was venomous. It also, does have squid-like properties, and that kind of makes me lean more into poison because of ink and all. But either way, I think that, it could be poison or steel. I could also see rock, if I'm frank. It had the seashell, it's rock, and this, even though Amistar isn't a true restoration, the typing's actually still accurate. Or it could even be dark, because Amistar I could see being a very ferocious Pokemon. Maybe not Ammonite so much, but Amistar for sure. Moving into Armaldo and Cradily. Well, as I said, I think Armaldo was a water bug type. We know it lived in the water, especially Anorith. It preyed in the water. So that just makes a lot of sense. It's also a Hoenn fossil, so it definitely had a lot of relationship to water. I think it was water bug. And as for Cradily, I think it was water grass. Again, it, lived in the water, so water typing could really work for it. I could also see the poison typing as well, just because of all the colors and stuff, and it being kind of based off of an anemone. Anemones are poisonous, so I could see Cradily being poison as well, and just, the bright colors, that's a common thing you see in poisonous animals. So maybe it was grass poison, but honestly, I'm gonna lean grass water on this one, just simply because I think it's a safer bet, since it did live in the water. Now, for Bastiodon and Rampardos, this is where it gets a little bit interesting, because Rock Steel, I could totally see that being the case for Bastiodon. And I think that maybe there's a chance that Bastiodon was pure steel and just the rock type got added to it, but I am kind of more inclined to believe that the rock replaces a typing, so it would actually be pure rock if this were the case. So it is steel something else, I think. Now, what is that typing? Well, it could be rock, but I actually think it could also be a plethora of things. I am leaning rock, but I could see it being dragon just because they want to go the reptile route and just slap dragon typing on it like they do to a lot of reptiles. But I think it could have been Steel Rock purely just because of its relationship to the Aeron line, which are Steel Rock today. So I imagine just if it is indeed what the Aeron line used to be, then it probably was still Steel Rock way back when as well. Now for Rampardos, I imagine the rock did take the place of something, and I think it might have been the psychic typing. I could see Zen Headbutt being the signature move of this line. It was their move way back when. They still have it now. They just don't get the stab with it because, they're not psychic types anymore. This also really works just because of the whole emphasis on a head. You have the emphasis on the brain. And I love the idea of these two physical attacker Pokemon being psychic types when they do not embody at all what you think of when you think of the psychic type. And then we move to the Unova fossils, where we have Archeops and Caracosta. Now, for Archeops, I think that Archeops may be related to Hawlucha. I know on first glance we might go, oh, it's very parrot-like, maybe it's related to Chatot or Squawkabilly or both, but I actually think it might be Hawlucha. Both are birds that are, relatively flightless, like, while they do fly, that's not really their primary thing. They also are both very colorful, and I think that it's very possible that Archeops could have been a fighting type in its past. It does have a very kind of aggressive personality, and defeatist just sounds like an ability that would belong to a fighting type. So I think it's very possible that Archeops was once a fighting flying type and eventually became the Hawlucha we know today. Now with Caracosta, I'm going a similar route and assuming that Caracosta could be related to Lapras. Because of this, a water ice typing would fit really, really well for Caracosta, but perhaps, and this is kind of wild and I'm not sure if I believe this, but water dragon could maybe work as well, just because again, Lapras is kind of considered a dragon as it's used by dragon trainers such as Iris. But again, I'm not really married to that idea, and I much more like the idea of Caracosta being water ice. Also, on that note, Archeops, there is a chance it could have been dragon flying, perhaps closely related to Aerodactyl, just because it does learn a lot of dragon moves today. But again, I'm much more married to the fighting flying idea of Archeops. Now, moving into the Kalos region, we have Aurorus and we have Tyrantrum. Now, with Aurorus, I think Aurorus was ice electric, and the reason why is because Auroras, the whole phenomenon, is very much tied into like magnetic poles and stuff, and so for that reason, just it makes sense that Auroras would have some kind of electric properties if it, you know, is related to the Aurora Borealis. Also, there is the fact that Auroras does learn a decent bit of electric-type moves like Thunder Wave and Discharge, so I could totally see Auroras being Ice-Electric in the past, and also that is a really cool typing, and I really hope we can one day see this Ice-Electric Auroras. Now, for Tyrantrum, I think it was actually originally Dragon Dark, and this really just comes with its naming scheme here, you know, being a tyrant and being compared to a tyrant, and its you know, species name is the Dispot Pokemon, Dispo, I don't know, however you pronounce that word. I'm not good with the whole words that I didn't regularly say as a child, but I think Tyrantrum could have been a dark type because of that immediately tyrant, that just puts in your head, you know, a mean ruler, an evil ruler. Like, when I think of tyrants, I think of, you know, Fidel Castro and Joseph Stalin and Adolf Hitler. Either way, I think that Dragon Dark would fit really well for Tyrantrum just because of this naming scheme and it being kind of a more evil Pokemon that kind of was very mean to the other Pokemon. I could see it bullying other Pokemon, like kind of forcing them to give up any of their food they had stashed for it and ruling over areas. Could really see that, so Dark Dragon just works so well. Now, for the Galar fossils. Well, this is tricky because we only know what half of them look like. But I do think that it's very possible that Dracovish, if you break it up, you have the Vish part of it, was probably, in my opinion, a dark and water type, just because this Pokemon had a very powerful bite, and so I could see it getting stabbed from bite and crunch. Then you have the Draco part of it, and that, I imagine, could have been Dragon Grass, just because of the green on it. Just makes me immediately think grass type. But, you know, there's also a chance that all of these were monotypings. Again, there's no rock typing, so we don't know that it was replacing something in these. They could have been pure dragon, pure water. Could have been water dark, but pure dragon. Dragon grass, but pure water. We don't know. Now, looking at Arctozolt, for the Zolt part of it, I imagine that it was pure electric. I really think it was just pure electric. Maybe electric flying because it was from the fossilized bird, but I imagine it was a flightless bird. You know, it was like a raptor. So I would go pure electric or electric flying for that. And for the Arcto part, I imagine it was ice water. It's clearly an aquatic animal, so ice water is a really easy call in my opinion. But yeah, be sure to let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know who your favorite fossil Pokemon is. Mine is Dracovish. I love this little guy so much. But yeah, let me know yours in the comments below, as well as what you think their original typings may have been. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss all of our future deep dives into different aspects of the lore of Pokemon, talking about how things were, how they might become, all those fun things. You don't want to miss that, so like, subscribe, and hit the bell. And until next time, I will see all of you later.